Global happenings today. We communicate. We analyze global news.
There have been serial reactions by Nigerians over the broadcast of today by President Bola Tinubu after the 3 days of protest by Nigerians. But shockingly, one of his very strong ally has dropped a bombshell which has shook the entire country, and it's good enough you get to hear his position as it has to do with the speech by Bola Tinubu. Let's listen to it in detail.
Professor Wole Soyinka has said that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's nationwide address on Sunday failed to address the attacks on #EndBadGovernance protesters by security agencies. Soyinka made the observation in a statement on Sunday following Tinubu's address to the nation. The #EndBadGovernance protest continued on Sunday, marking their fourth day as demonstrators voiced their frustrations over the country's deepening economic hardship, escalating poverty, and ineffective governance. Soyinka said, and I quote him, "I set my alarm clock for this morning to ensure that I did not miss President Bola Tinubu's impatiently awaited address to the nation on the current unrest across the nation. His outline of government's remedial actions since inception aimed at warding off just such an outbreak will undoubtedly receive expert and sustained attention both for effectiveness and in content analysis. A primary concern, quite predictably, is the continuing deterioration of the state seizure of protest management, an area in which the presidential address fell conspicuously short. Such shortchanging of civic deserving, regrettably, goes to arm the security forces in the exercise of impunity and condemns the nation to a seemingly unbreakable circle of resentment and reprisals. Live bullet as state's response to civic protest, that becomes the core issue. Even tear gas remains questionable in most circumstances, certainly an abuse in situation of clearly peaceful protest. Hunger marches constitute a universal SOS, not peculiar to the Nigerian nation. They belong indeed in a class of their own, never mind the collateral claims emblazoned on posters. They serve as sermons to governance that a breaking point has been reached, that thus a testing ground for governance awareness of public desperation. The traffic and tragic response to the ongoing hunger marches in parts of the nation, and for which notice was served, constitute a retrogression that takes the nation even further back than the deadly culmination of the watershed EndSARS protest. It invokes pre-independence, that is, colonial act of disdain, a passage that induced the late stage pioneer Hubert Ogunde's folk opera, which says bread and bullets, ending that nationalist serial persecution and proscription by the colonial government. Soyinka noted that the nation's security agencies cannot pretend unawareness of the alternative methods and models for emulation, civilized advances in security intervention. He said, and I quote him again, "Need we recall the nationwide 2022-2023 edition of what is generally known as the Yellow Vest movement in France? Perhaps it is time to make such scenarios completely viewing in policy curriculum. In all of the coverage that I watched, I did not catch one single instance of a gun leveled at protesters, much less fired at them even during direct physical confrontations. The serving of bullets where bread is pleaded is ominous to retrogression, and we know what that eventually proves. A prelude to far more desperate upheavals, not excluding revolutions. The time is long overdue, surely, to abandon permanently the anachronistic resort to now means and method by the security agencies of governance. No nation is so underdeveloped, materially impoverished, or simply internally insecure as to lack the will to set an example. All it takes is to recall its own history, then exercise the will to commence a lasting transformation in setting a break in chain of lacquer responses against civic society. Today's marchers may wish to consider adopting the key songs of Herbert Hoover's Bread and Bullets, if only to inculcate a sense of shame in the continuing failure to transcend the law of colonial inheritance, where we all here, where we all were at the receiving end. One way or the other, this vicious circle must be broken. Those were the words of Wole Soyinka, and it's really speaking very strongly on this.
Mhm. Now, interestingly, one of the most important emphasis of his write-up was towards the crackdown by security agents on, very vulnerable protesters. I saw something, I think in Kano or so, and I did not believe my eyes. I saw one of the security agents running around and just, shooting sporadically without caring whether what he's doing is going to affect Nigerians. And it's a product of an autocratic system. Now, most Nigerians believe maybe they did it out of the fact that they have this military sense of reasoning. So the president, whenever he will have time to address Nigerians, such will be one of the key issues that he will have to handle to enable them, shelve their own swords and treat the protesters as men who are only carrying out their civic responsibility. But unfortunately, the president did not do that. He didn't even go close to it. The only thing I heard at the start of his sermon, academic sermon, was we are so sorry. We commemorate or we condone with the family of those who lost their life during. Now, the process, what happened that led to them losing their life? Did they engage in any form of violence? Time came, they were just with, palm fronds, a kind of, or branches of trees. They lifted it up, and all of a sudden, some cars passed, military cars passed, boom, it started. See how they were beating people as if they are animals. And I was like, what is this? Now, just like what God rightly pointed out, I just pray that, that after this, they won't revoke that name given to him, or those roads that they name after him. I just pray they won't, because right now, a lot of things may be going through the president's heart. But however, he made the president to understand that that is tantamount to anarchy in the future. If nothing is done, we should be expecting anarchy, especially if the military or the police continue with that act. Handle these guys with care. The governor, the IGP had already said before now. He said, you guys are meant to accompany. All of a sudden in Lagos, I can still remember a very dark man who was crying with his eyes all red water
That's in
coming
Abuja.
out. Okay, that was in Abuja. Crying that they were supposed to be in, I think, Moshood Abiola's stadium. And all of a sudden, the military came, the police. They came, and before he would say who goes, boom, the tear gas started. Someone was like, but we are in Moshood Abiola's this thing. Come on. The president must be careful the people he listens to. It's very important because that may strip him of all the support Nigerians have given to him thus far.
The truth be told, I must commend Professor Wole Soyinka for saying the truth the way it is. A time comes like this, you forget the fact that you know anybody personally because the situation is getting there. Now, one would have expected that, just like everyone expected that the president would have addressed this issue, he didn't. And he's literally telling him very nicely that, look, forget the fact that we're friends, forget the fact that I'm close to you. I was expecting to address this, and you remember we were in this together before now. Now you are enthroned, and in case nobody's telling you, that circle is going to break, and when it does, it's going to be a situation. Forget the fact that we are the poster. He told him to his face. Forget the posters. We also did this poster thing, man. Forget this. We did this poster. Forget the poster. That when you hear that matches of hunger, it clearly shows you that look, you need to look back. Test their testing ground. Now you have used the last thing that you should have used now you're using as the first. The word remains. People are hungry, and they're telling you they're hungry. They're telling them don't cry, and you have not given them food. And it's honestly, I must commend Professor Wole Soyinka now for really saying the truth the way it is. And even if he didn't, the hunger is real. We can't be playing propaganda on real hunger. Even if you say, okay, give them 5,000 to do anti-protest. After the 5,000, they have many more days to leave. The prices are going high. And he said, I would have expected you to address that situation. You just empower the security personnel. You never condemned them. These are the same things you fought for. when we were on the other side of power. Now we are in power, and you're not saying that this thing, now you've empowered them to go ahead without mentioning that they should stop, which means whatever comes out of it, and the people will definitely not stop because they are hungry.
Of course, exactly. So I don't know if the president will have an opportunity to talk about this, but I feel that that issue should be addressed. The security agencies should be called to order. This guy, Senator Adam Oshole had pointed out that during that time when they were throwing triggers at them, they will return it back. That is one of the key characteristics of police during periods of protest and all of that. What kind of protest were you guys doing that were, caused them to start throwing? This one is a peaceful protest. Peaceful protest is just for you to define, how far they are moving. It's not for you to start, casting some military might on them that will cause them to react.
Even NLC did say that going forward, if they see anything like life ammunition again, they may be forced to intervene. Because this is not, this whole issue of even minimum wage from 30,000 to what it is today was simply because they also dragged the government.
Exactly.
So it's not saying, look, we have been keeping quiet, yes, you have given us what we are looking for temporarily. But then again, if you're military, because you are called commander in chief for a reason, which means all the security personnel are answerable to your call. So if you tell them back down, don't do this, of course they will be. So if you're not saying anything, that means you're saying you enjoy exactly how we're rolling this thing. But let's say it plays out anyway.
Alright, that's what we'd like to leave it. Let's be in our comment section and talk more on this. What's your position on what Professor Wole Soyinka had to say about the
global happenings today? We communicate, we analyze,